Right now, Wall Street wants disruptors, they want innovation, they want growth.
This red hot market has meant a summer of searching for that next big growth opportunity.
Kind of a mini Palantir. They got two government contracts with the Department of Defense.
Even with these new record highs, Lance Ippolito with Trading Pub has a list of three low cost stocks that still have explosive growth potential ahead.
We've seen just the stock surge. It's doubled over the past 60 days.
There's still time to get in early on these three growth plays. Let's dive in. Lance, so great to have you back on the show. We love talking to you here at MarketBeat. Today, we are talking about growth stocks and growth in the market. We're heading into this holiday weekend with the market really at an all-time high. What's going on in the market? What are you seeing and hearing from some of your investors?
It is the great melt up. And actually, today we are officially in extreme greed. We just came out of extreme fear not too long ago. Heck, just a couple months ago, it was feeling like doomsday and the whole world was crashing. And now the CNN Fear Greed Index just came out, and we're in extreme greed, meaning people want risk, they want stocks, they want to grow their portfolios, and we're seeing just a melt up nonstop. It feels like every day the market's making new highs. We had the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq 100 making brand new highs just today. It's healthy rotation. It's a very healthy market. It just seems like nothing can stop this bull run.
That is what everyone is hoping anyway right now. I think there's still some fears out there of is there a crash coming? Could we see some more volatility ahead with all of the different tariff announcements and different things that are coming? But right now, growth is definitely the story. That's what we're seeing and hearing from some of our viewers here on MarketBeat too. People are looking for growth stocks. They're looking for those small to mid cap companies that have a potential for a lot of growth. And I know that's what you have for our viewers today, a list of three explosive growth opportunities that are still trading at really pretty low levels. Lance, I know your specialty is in options and day trading, but this list is all about long term plays. You do have a unique way of playing some of these companies too. And we're going to dive into his strategy after this list of three growth stocks. So you scan the QR code or click the link in the description of this video to really dive into Lance's unique strategy that's working really well for him and the investors who follow him. We'll dive into that right after the list. So for now, let's get into that first company you have for us that's an explosive growth opportunity for investors.
Sure thing. Let's first start with it's an AI stock. So, it's popular out there. Wall Street is loving AI, but it's Big Bear AI or Big Bear AI Holdings, as I call it. How do you not love a stock that has bear in the ticker, by the way? But it's a relatively low price stock. Earlier this or pardon me, late last year, it was around a $3 stock, traded all the way up to 10, so over a triple. And recently, over the past a month or so, we've seen just the stock surge. Mostly, and we'll get into the government contracts, but it's doubled over the past 60 days from about $4 to $8, with the high being 10.36. So we're not too far off that high. And usually in these small cap companies, highly shorted, meaning people are betting against them when they start to move up, you really what we call a short squeeze. And we're starting to see that, it's not uncommon to see the stock up 10 to 20% a day. And what they are is it's AI, so artificial intelligence, but it's not just a one trick pony like you might have heard of last year where some of these AI darlings have died down. What they do is they have biometric scans and they have them at major airports, JFK, LAX, and they're getting deployed this year. But also, they have government contracts, which is kind of the big key word that you want as an investor. You want kind of that guaranteed government money. And they got two government contracts with the Department of Defense. And I believe it was for 10 years, around $2.4 billion. I believe that one was in August of 2024 with the FAA. For some of the IT solutions there. So it's not, not just, hey, the stock is an AI's play and it can die down. It's got that government contract aspect to it, which is really, really important right now. We saw Palantir reminds me of kind of a mini Palantir. We saw Palantir start to get government contracts over the last couple years, and look at that stock. It exploded from like 17 to now over $100 plus. So it could be positioning to be that next major play. And I don't think it's that popular yet. I think it, maybe caught some steam on the run about a year or so ago, but it's kind of died down with the mainstream media, or just not a lot of people know about it because usually institutional investors can't touch a stock, usually sub five or sometimes sub $10 a share. So if it breaks out over $10 again, it could be game on, and you could start having institutional money come in, which really sparks my interest.
This is a stock we've talked about on the channel a lot over the last week or two. Our viewers are really interested in this one. And also, I've heard that comparison to Palantir before. People are looking for that next huge growth stock, like the growth they saw in Palantir last year. I mean, just a year ago, we were talking about Palantir around that $20 range, and now it's up over 140. And so I think that's what people are looking toward, and they're hoping that BBAI can be that next company. One thing to add to this conversation, when we talk about Palantir, people worry that the valuation is just out of control. Um, could we see that with Big Bear? Do you think that there's going to be a price point where it's too high for investors to get in, or it's growing faster than the company is actually growing?
Well, that's a fantastic concern you mentioned. And I think we already went through that concern because we had the stock it went from, and I remember I owned shares around 3.5 bucks. It went to $10. I started scaling out at 7 and 9. Obviously, not perfect when it comes to trading and investing. No one is. But we had that big run up, the stock basically tripled. And then you had that big come down for, almost a year or so. It was just sideways flirting with around 5 bucks or so a share. So what that does is it shakes those weak hands out because, investors, especially in those small price stocks, those small cap stocks, I mean, they're fidgety. They're in one day, they're out the next day. They don't want to hold over a year and the stock's doing nothing while they see Robinhood and all these other stocks flying and Palantir. They're going to rotate out. What really sparks my interest in it is since the past really couple weeks, which is fantastic. You brought that to your viewers. I mean, I've been looking at it 10, 20% days thinking, man, can this thing stop? Well, I don't think once it crosses $10, that's when you're going to have volume come in, that institutional money come in. And I think that's when it's really what we call a game on to where the stock can truly explode. So I do think that the test of time, it's already taken that big pullback, which is, really the hardest thing when you're investing because you own a stock. Let's say you bought it at $8 and then it goes back to $4. You're thinking, man, I'm down 50%. What do I do? I think it's already had those kind of hurdles. So now, especially with the DoD and the FAA contracts, you're not going to see as much volatility as that downside where, you're not fearful, oh man, they got to go do an offering in the secondary market and raise more capital. I think you have those hurdles already out the way.
Yeah, well, this one's certainly a great first growth pick to share with our viewers. I think a lot of our viewers would agree. This is a great growth stock to get into right now. Let's get to that second name on your list, Lance.
Yeah, let's go to Archer Aviation. The ticker's ACHR. This one, kind of a similar story to Palantir, where it had a big run up, crossed over that $10 level, had a slight pullback, and now it's really been range bound for the last 6 months or so. And there's really two things that strike me with Archer Aviation. One is, and kind of the cool thing that the mainstream folks know about is their air taxi. Who doesn't want to ride in an air taxi to go from one place to the other? It's like kind of taking a electric helicopter and such. And apparently, in Los Angeles for the 2028 Olympics, it's going to be the official air taxi provider. So it's going to be all over the media. It's going to have probably fantastic sponsorship and showcase, and everyone's going to say, "Oh, look how cool it is," and such like that. So maybe a big run up into that event. But also the Abu Dhabi, the Middle East money, especially with drones and stuff like that, with the UAE, that kind of, we'll say, less regulation, right? Uh, Big backing with the UAE, and we're seeing recently they closed the $850 million raise. So they raised some capital out there. So you kind of have that already out the way. It's a lot of money, 850 million. So you don't have to worry about, oh man, the stock's down 20% after hours. They're doing a capital raise and stuff like that. So I do think with especially the new administration being very friendly to the Middle East and with less regulation, especially in the airspace, it's really setting up kind of the perfect move for the stock to go higher in Archer Aviation. So I think it's super cool too, that space. And really the innovative technology people want right now. They don't want, their Delta Airlines or Southwest Airlines stocks. It's like, all right, those are old, there's nothing new or innovative. They're not going to come out with some new plane or some new fees or something that's going to change the business dynamics. Right now, Wall Street wants disruptors, they want innovation, they want growth. So I think if you're looking at the drone space, the air taxi space, I really think you want Archer over a name like Joby or Joby. I think this is kind of the good one out of the two. And this is the one that I do think can have a real big breakout, especially with less regulation upcoming.
Interesting. That was going to be one of my questions of why Archer over Joby. So thank you for getting to that one too. Another follow up I have on the Archer pick is, as you said, they're making big announcements to 2028, right? They're looking ahead to the future. It's not quite there yet. So I still feel like we're on the early stages of Archer Aviation. Would you consider this still getting in early? And how soon, with the commercialization process, do you think we could see Archer stock really see a big boost?
I do think it is out of the pair, out of Joby Aviation. I think this is a good one, and I've been burned. I'll share a story with you. I remember I bought lots of Joby stock and call options, and then they did an offering, and shares were down like 20% after hours and I lost my shirt. But with this, do believe it has better fundamentals, and you already had that $850 million funding raise out the way. I really think during this administration, this is the time to really have that kind of the air taxi, the less regulation in the airlines, same with space and with the FAA. So I do think. As the stock has been coiled up like a spring over the past 6 months, I really do think now is the time. And if you do wait, you do have that FOMO, that fear of missing out, where you can wake up one day and they announce some new deal or some new test flight, and the stock gaps up X amount, after hours, and then you're chasing, and then it's game on, and you have a huge squeeze and everything like that. So these stocks that we're talking about, they've had the test of time where Wall Street has shorted them, so they have a high short interest. So when they do have good news, they have what we could call in the stock trading world a squeeze, and that's just where you have a parabolic move and the stock can't stop. Maybe you don't go all in at once, right? But I do think over, let's say, the next 3 to 6 months, maybe you scale in, 25%, 25%, start building a position in some of these names, especially if we do get a little bit of pullback in these stocks.
All right, a great second company to talk about. And the third one, this will be the first time we're talking about this name on the channel, so I'm excited about this one.
Yes, this is one, and it just came across yesterday. My news flow scanner, which tracks the largest option orders in the world in real time, it's Galaxy Digital Holdings. The ticker's GLXY. So this is two sectors that have really taken over the world the past year or so. It's cryptocurrency, which I mean, those crypto stocks are soaring. We just saw CoreWave looking to buy out CORZ, Core Scientific, I believe is the name of the company. But it's taking your cryptocurrency, but also AI. And they just finished a $175 million capital raise out there. And CoreWave has actually agreed to rent more of Galaxy's data centers in Texas, which Texas is very crypto and business friendly, as we've seen from California. So, it's not just, hey, it's a new crypto darling doing some mining out there, stuff like that. It's you have cryptocurrency, fintech, AI. We've seen a big move in stable coins with some regulation getting passed by the administration, and David Sachs big on the stable coins out there. So new payment services, you have AI, quantum computing thrown in, you have crypto thrown in there, you got Texas thrown in with some data centers out there with large companies like CoreWave that went public recently and has been parabolic to the upside right there. So, when you bring in that kind of fintech technology out there and the government being stable coin, digital currency very friendly out there, you're really starting to see this name move. And this is really what got my attention, especially just yesterday. We saw, and this was a massive bet. Usually, this one does not trade much in the options market. But yesterday, we saw um, a long term, we call leaps, is a long-term option trade for $1.02 million. So a little over $1 million in the March, so March of 2026, 22 and a half calls. And the stock right now is right around 22 and a half. So an at the money call buyer, so that usually acts as a stock replacement for over $1 million, and they paid around $7 for these. So their break even is 22 and a half plus 7. That's $29.5 for this trader to make money on that $1 million position. So that's a pretty large upside that they're anticipating for the stock. Anything over 29 and a half, they really start to print on those call options they bought. So institutional call buying, which I love in the options market, growth in the cryptocurrency AI space. They just did $175 million raise. And then you have CoreWave has agreed to rent their data centers in Texas. So sounds like a home run to me. And the chart is showing that the stock has doubled over the past 6 months, which is a pretty large move.
Yeah, such an interesting name and interesting company. Haven't heard of this yet. I know you talked a lot about options, and we are going to talk about kind of your specialty in just a minute. But I do have one quick follow up on Galaxy, really quick, and that's the crypto involvement. Obviously, crypto's been doing really, really well right now, but everyone who is in that space knows there's a lot of
Oh
volatility
yeah.
involved. Are we seeing that similar volatility with this stock, or could we? Will it follow what crypto tends to do?
I don't think so, because it's more of that fintech, more of the stable coin, not that one-to-one correlation with Bitcoin. So if you were saying like, hey, is it a Bitcoin miner like a Mara or Riot, then I would say yes, because those move pretty much one-to-one with the price of crypto, price of Bitcoin. This kinda like CoreWave, to where it's not been super dependent on the price of cryptocurrency. That's what I like, because I don't wanna be tied to, an asset class that if it goes down, the stock is gonna go down. I think this is more of a newer IPO play, which has been very, very attractive. That's what especially institutional investors have been really moving into these past few months. We've seen Circle, we've seen CoreWave, even Reddit, kind of an older IPO, truly outperform. And I don't think it's that popular yet. So you're kind of having that new IPO, that new wave of stock, but without the popularity. So you don't feel like you're, having to buy Circle or CoreWave at a triple, when it's at, an all-time high, so to speak.
Now, those names that you just mentioned are exactly the kind of stocks that you are working in every day. Talk a little bit about your specialty and the knowledge you like to share with investors too.
I'm a big investor. I invest in my stock portfolio, my retirement portfolio. I've been fortunate enough to get some, open AI, some SpaceX, some Anduril, some even companies hopefully going to go public. But during the trading day, because I am a trader, used to trade for a hedge fund out there. That's kind of my bread and butter. Right now, traditional stocks are a little bit hard. If you're trying to do like Apple or Amazon, they're not giving you a lot of movement, or the market with this melt up, you're not having a lot of big intraday swings anymore like we were. So what I've been doing is very, very simple. At 10 a.m., I place an option trade on the S&P 500. So that's the SPX, or if you have a smaller account, there's a brand new product called the XXP by the CBOE, just 1/10 the size of S&P. So 1/10 the size of the market, the S&P 500. And I placed the trade using the market maker's move. market makers control option prices. And every stock out there, and especially like the S&P, the Nasdaq, the Dow Jones. So I take the market maker move every day at 10 a.m. and see how much is. If the VIX is lower, it's going to be tighter. If the VIX is higher, it's even better because it's going to be a bigger range in a market maker move. So I take that daily range at 10 a.m. and I say, hey, here's what the market makers are implying. I do a simple option trade at the market maker move. And then at 4 p.m. Eastern time, when the stock market closes, the trade closes automatically, win, lose, or draw. So what I love about it is I don't have to day trade. I don't have to time the market. I don't need to buy low, sell high, and be on my computer. At 4 p.m., the trade automatically expires, win, lose, or draw. Usually it's been higher probability because the market makers, the guys and girls controlling the option prices, usually win. It's kind of like Vegas, the house always wins, as they say. And I just love doing it. I'm not aiming for home runs or anything like that, but it's a trade I can do every day with a brand new rule from the CBOE. And it's just easy to do, and I don't have to time the market perfectly, and I can still do it each and every day, not trying to hit home run grand slams, just trying to get singles and bring some income into my account without having to time the market or do anything. And I can still have my long-term holdings and my stock picks and everything like that in my portfolio. I'm just using a small portion to do this trade.
Very interesting strategy, and you can learn more about Lance's strategy by scanning the QR code now or clicking the link in the description of this video. He has far more details. If you go and sign up for his newsletter, you can learn all about the strategy he's talking about and just follow more of his great investing advice. Lance, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing these 3 growth stocks with our investors. Really interesting conversation today.
Thank you, Bridget. I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, and thank you for watching, everyone. Let us know what you think about these 3 names. Are you in any of these early? Are you still looking to get into any? We'd love to know your thoughts and any names that you would add to the list of explosive growth opportunities yet this year. Share those in the comments. Thanks for watching, everyone. As always, happy investing.